Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation here. So I'm a PhD student from the University of Edinburgh. I'm from Hong Kong. So this is my third year. So my topic here today is disability representation in fictional and biographic picture books. If you can't really see the words here, please feel free to just move forward. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, good idea. I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's much better. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to hide these barrels?
What do you think? Yeah, I'll just put it down.
You can just like push, I think
This one?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So the topic for today's presentation here for my paper is derived from my PhD study, but it's not exactly the same topic. So let me just dive in. So I see the research gap here. So there are no prior research studies on both the nature and teachers' perceptions of picture books with disability representation. And there is no prior studies on the disability representation in picture books through critical disability theory. So what I'm doing here is I use multimodal discourse analysis for the picture books, but also I look at teachers' perceptions. So this is the research gap here. So this is the main research question for my PhD study, but not for my paper here today. So feel free to give me any comments. You're all very experienced picture book experts. I'm very honored to present my paper to you. So what are the nature and teachers' perceptions of UK and US picture books with disability representation? So I first started with this comparison only because I wanted to start with UK picture books, but there were very few biographic picture books portraying disabilities or special educational needs, or what we call additional needs in Scotland. So my supervisors advised me, oh, you can just go broader. So there is a gap there. So there were less than 5 that I could find biographic picture books portraying the main character with disability. So I searched and I found the US Schneider Family Award, and there was a wealth of resources there. And that's how I started this comparison. Although it's a small case comparison, I still see that as valuable because if we are only doing quantitative, large-scale studies, we can never dive in and see the details of the books. So still, I think it's worth doing that. So here comes the paradox, the reality versus positive portrayal. So, well, lots of scholars work on how disability is represented in terms of their categories. So whether there is an evenly distributed kind of disability. So for example, they think about the physical or developmental or intellectual or even smaller categories like autism, ADHD, and so on. And also whether they're positive and accurate. And also there are book awards for disability representations, as I said. But these awards, such as Schneider Family Award and Dolly Gray Children's Literature Award, they often require a positive portrayal of characters. However, the problem here is that if you want a positive portrayal, very often we are normalizing the disability. So we are lightening the disability experience. So that is something contradictory to the critical discourse and critical disability theory. So that's what I found a bit challenging here. Oh, you want it to be positive, but you also want it to be accurate at the same time. So do they go together? And how can we use them more effectively? The current paper is how disability representation in both fictional and non-fictional biographic picture books are formed. So are we actually neutralizing disability, or are we giving privilege to people who have achievements and who are also disabled? So are we basically, in other words, we praising elitism. And that is again contradictory to critical disability theory, because one of the perspective of critical disability theory is to challenge ableism. So at the same time, you're saying that being good at Stephen Hawking, being a professional violist is great, but you're saying that we should embrace everyone with diverse ability. Do they go together? So I use Van Leeuwen's critical analysis of multimodal discourse, but many of these kind of models, they look at still images. But picture books, we look at successive images. So also another thing here is Van Leeuwen used it in other situations, for example, to look at politics, to look at racism, but not disability. So far there is no one using this framework for disability. And another thing here is I find that it doesn't fit in the picture book analysis. So I incorporated the elements from Van Leeuwen, but I generated my own framework. So what I did was I started with the visual text. So I looked at the social role, so the agent or the patient, so who had the agency and who took the action, and the patient who received the action, and the social interaction among the characters and the relation, and also inclusion and exclusion. So I looked at the odds, the distance, the angle, gaze, disability connotations, human characteristics, actions, reactions, and structure. And well, the process is kind of inductive and deductive, although at the beginning of the project is meant to be inductive, but because when you work on the picture books, you find that there are elements, but they don't fit in this framework. So where should I put it there? So yeah, so it's a bit like, oh, is this vegetarian or meat? Where does it go? So I modified the framework many times actually to come up with this. And then I analyzed the verbal text. So I looked at the language, the dialogues, the descriptions, the disability connotations, human characteristics, actions, reactions, structure. Again, how they contribute to social role, social interaction and relation, and inclusion and exclusion or exclusion. And although Van Leeuwen proposed social actor and social action, so these terms are from Van Leeuwen, but he has looked at the social actors and social actions in the text. So he hasn't looked at real people, social action. So because teachers rereading the stories, retelling, that's a kind of social action as well. So that's what I want to add on top of this. So after I looked at the double spreads and analyzed them, I put them together at different levels. So for example, the opening, and then I summarize them and assemble them. And also the body and also an incident, and I assemble them and see how these disability experiences construct to our understanding of disability. So the books that I'm using, so I've used Stephen Hawking, this one here, Little Guides to Great Lives. And yeah, this. And also, sorry, and also What Happened to You. I haven't brought with me this book, but later on you can see the, you can see the images. And also the US books, Isaac, A Boy Who Loved the Violin. And also I Talk Like a River, so somewhere over there. So I want to talk a little bit more about the social model of disability, because that's related to my analysis. I don't know how much you know about it. So Goodley suggests that disability eliminates how disabling or inclusive a community space can be. And Shakespeare argues that it is the interaction of individual bodies and social environments which produces disability. So in other words, it's the social barriers that make people disabled, and not just individual or health factors. So that is the social model of disability. And how is the critical disability theory same or different from this? So the critical disability theory actually accepts the social model of disability and the social theory of disability. And I'm going to, because the definitions are quite long, so I didn't post them. I don't want to give you a long reading, but if we look at, go back to this page here. So if we look at Mollett and Runswick-Cole's definition, we know that basically that is how people who are recognized because of their achievements and given privilege, and in the same time and same case, we are actually marginalizing people without these achievements or abilities. So it's not quite the same as disableism, because disableism is the direct discrimination. But ableism, we are basically welcome people with better abilities or high achievements, and we are giving these people privilege, and at the same time we are actually marginalizing people without these abilities or achievements. So I want to read aloud Campbell's definition here. Campbell defines ableism as a network of beliefs, processes, and practices that produces a particular kind of self and body, the corporeal standard that is projected as the perfect, species typical, and therefore essential and fully human. Disability then is caused as a diminished state of being human. And Lavani defines ableism as the persistent devaluing of disability, or viewpoints in which disability is understood as an inherently negative state of being, and discrimination or social prejudice against people with disabilities by suggesting the superiority of people with abilities and marginalizing or oppressing people with disability. It's so long. I hope you get the idea here. So if you want the everyday language, you can have a look of SCOPE, which is an organization, a charity based in England and Wales. So it's got a more easily understood definition as well. It's shorter. And now let's have a look of the picture books. So this one shows Stephen Hawking. So the first theme that I find is, as I mentioned earlier on, elitism and also ableism and the medical model. So Stephen Hawking in the book here is portrayed as an elite figure with unattainable standards for individuals with similar disabilities. So he's kind of the only one that has this status, and his difficulties solved by technology, you can see here. And well, it somehow demonstrates the social model, because if he's given the assistive device, he can perform like anyone else or even better. And also that connects with critical disability theory, especially the post-human disability theory proposed by Goodley. So Goodley has this idea of post-human. So people are not just people, but we have our phones on the way, we have assistive device or adaptive devices. However, throughout the book, there is no challenge of ableism. So it doesn't challenge ableism. And also later on, you see that when it comes to emotions, it's not very realistic, because in the book, Stephen Hawking was portrayed to be very pleasant and very happy, and we doubt about whether it's realistic as well. The next theme here I would like to discuss is again, elitism and ableism, but with another book here. That's Isaac, A Boy Who Loved the Violin. So it's actually good that Isaac is portrayed as having a holistic, multidimensional life. So emphasizing his passion of violin, but also his hobby, that's football. So he's not just seen as a person who has disability, but he's multidimensional. He's not just a violinist, but he's also a footballer. But he may not be exceptional in football, but he can do other things as well. And then the next thing is the accurate and positive portrayal. So accurate versus positive portrayal. So you can see here Stephen Hawking's struggles are depicted. So you can see that he is not quite sure about his ALS, and the name is given here in the book. But throughout the book, you can see that his triumphs, his achievements actually overshadow the everyday challenges he faced. It is good that it is a very positive portrayal, but as we said, we doubt about whether it's authentic and accurate, and how would that go align with CDT, so critical disability theory. So if we look at the next one, this is also from Isaac, A Boy Who Loved the Violin. So this is a biography. So same as Stephen Hawking's book. So he is portrayed to have a balanced experiences of barriers and success, but the barriers are not caused by his disability. So in other words, for example, this is a very good visual metaphor here. So in this scene, he was going to join he wanted to have an audition. Okay, he was going to be a violinist. He wanted to join the audition. He wrote a note as a child. But the Philharmonic didn't respond. So in this visual metaphor here, I call it metaphor because his barrier is not caused by the stairs. It's not caused by his disability. It's only people may see him, well, the reason is not mentioned, but it could be people see him as a child and you're writing to the Philharmonic asking for an audition, handwritten notes. So, so his barrier is not caused by his disability, but there could be other reasons for everyday life challenges. Yeah, and another thing here is that in my PhD study, I have analyzed 20 picture books, and through all these 20 picture books, none of them actually portray other characters with disability. So it's often the protagonist, he's the only one or she's the only one who has disability or learning needs. So we doubt about whether this is realistic or accurate. And the next thing here is, well, if you look at I Talk Like a River, it's a beautiful book, but the abstract drawing style shows that it's quite dark. It shows the emotions of the protagonist. And I argue here that's the two biographies, so including the Isaac and also Stephen Hawking books, because well, in those biographies, disability is just part of their life, and is not magnified. But in these two fiction books, because the barriers are repeatedly portrayed, so it's like, as a reader, you are immersed into this situation. You live with the protagonist, and these barriers repeatedly portrayed, and you feel, well, pity for them and also empathetic at the same time. So is it something that we want? So because time is running out, so my conclusion here, well, I'm going to leave the conclusion for you, but my summary here, I would say, is that, well, it is perhaps something for the readers to learn. And as educators, teachers, parents, how can we facilitate this learning for children to see these items or these situations in the book, because there is no one perfect book. Thank you very much.